It is time. SBR betting roundtable for 8/8/18, August 8th. Yes, it is. We got college football 3 weeks away. NFL preseason. We're talking Big Ten preview, also NFC East preview. Two Northeast guys on the show. Let's start off with the guy north of the border, Ian Cameron. Follow him on Twitter at Babano, his work, sportsmemo.com. Ian, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I get the feeling Big Man and Donnie will have a few things to say about the NFC East when we talk about that later on in the show. Looking forward to a great show as always. NFL preseason, as you mentioned, starting this week, which means NFL regular season's right around the corner. We're 2 weeks away from college football. We've got the IFBC in a couple weeks. Lots of stuff to look forward to, without a doubt.
IFBC right around the corner. International Football Betting Conference from the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas. Big Man on campus, Donnie Rightside, they'll both be a part of it. Donnie, let's start off with you. Follow you on Twitter at RightSideVP. Your work at DonnieRightside.com. Welcome in, bud. We missed you last week.
Yeah, out checking on the quote-unquote World Championship Philadelphia Eagles. And I did bring a little bit of Buddy around with me today for the show. You see this nice shiny object here? One team actually won that last year. If we're talking about the NFC East today, can't remember last time the Cowboys, Giants, and Redskins even had this here. So bow down to the champions. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but good to be back on the roundtable this week. Should have a lot of fun. The 100th episode, so to speak, of the PGA Championship is going to tee it up tomorrow in St. Louis. Am I a golf better? No. But do I want to release again my best bet on the roundtable, Tiger Woods to not win? Maybe so. You're going to have to stay tuned.
All right, we're off a rough week last week with the best bets, so we need a winner out of you, Donnie. And to our watchers out there in Dallas, Washington, New York, feel free to chime in on the live chat. Yes. Go after Donnie if you want. And his partner in crime, last, certainly not least, one of the most knowledgeable sports bettors out there, Big Man on campus. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, what's up, man?
Drew, always good to be on the roundtable. Looking forward to chatting about football today. Thanks for having me on.
All right, buddy. Big football card. We will steam through the baseball card. We got Atlanta versus Washington. Big NL East battle there on ESPN tonight. So, guys, let's just start off a bet on or fade pitcher. If you don't have one, that's fine too. Donnie, do you want to start us off with this? A bet on fade team or pitcher? Do you have one?
Yeah, I got two pitchers here. We'll go over. One I would like to bet on and one I would like to fade. And, it's all about going out there and getting value on these type of propositions that we're looking at. Derek Rodriguez out on the left coast for the San Francisco Giants. If we take a look at his last 11 starts, all you ask from, a non-ace pitcher. We're not talking about Chris Sale, Max Scherzer, Aaron Nola. From a non-ace pitcher, what do you expect from him and what do you want him to do? Keep you in the game. Of his 11 starts this year, folks, 9 of those starts have been quality starts. The team is 8-3 overall in those starts. And if we take a look at his weighted on base average against opponents, what I like to view is a guy that's getting better over the season. In June, it was 316, July 244, August 131. A guy a little bit under the radar, maybe a bet on guy that you're going to get some value on with the Giants is Derek Rodriguez. If we flip that over to a fade pitcher at this point, I know his ERA numbers look good, and he does pitch for a pretty good baseball team. That's the Milwaukee Brewers and Wade Miley. I'm going to be on the fade train shortly with this guy over the last 30 days. Yes, 2.25 ERA out of Wade Miley at this point. But if we take a look of those last 30 days, folks, if you're not striking out a lot of batters, that's 15% is what he's averaging per game. That means those guys are putting the ball in play. His xFIP numbers, folks, a 4.65 over the last 30 days. And to take it up one more level, his Sierra rating is at a 5.16. That is awful. Fade got to look forward to there that you'll probably catch a good number if you're on the opposite side. Wade Miley of the Milwaukee Brewers.
All about line value with Donnie Rightside, fade and Miley there. Big Man on campus. Any bet on or fade pitcher that caught your eye?
Well, look, I don't think anyone will be surprised by this, and I think the other guys here will, obviously say, well, that's kind of one that, I think we already know about. But the guy keeps getting starts, and again, he pitched well last week, but I think we all are well aware he's not going to keep doing this. Tommy Malone. We might be mystified by his 12 innings this year with only 4 runs, which is for his sake is pretty good. But I think we all know that Tommy Malone is a bad MLB pitcher, and he's not going to last for long. You got the Braves coming in today. which I believe we're talking about a little bit later. But yeah, look, again, Drew, I don't have a ton on MLB. I know Donnie and Ian look at it a little bit more than I do at this point, but I would go with Tom Malone. I don't think there's any way he'll continue to pitch like this. Just 2 starts in, he'll get crushed here probably today, and he'll go back to being his typical Tommy Malone.
So he dropped the ME off of his first name. He's not going by Tommy anymore, big man?
I'm not sure. I sometimes I might drop the Emmy or whatever. I guess I'm probably is Tommy, but sometimes I'll like on what I'm looking at right now. It says Tom Malone, so I don't know. I just,
Yeah,
Maybe
cool.
Jeff, you change the name. Yeah, change the name. You might be able to change your game. That's why he's pitching so
Maybe.
well, Jeff. Come on.
that might be right. Maybe he just needed something different, and he has it. He's now Tom. It sounds a little bit more, professional. There you go, Tom Malone.
Yeah, Mike Stanton, the Giancarlo Stanton out there, Jeff. I mean, you go from just a really good player to an MVP by changing your name. It works. I might have to do that soon.
Good idea.
Have you ever thought about going by Donald, Donnie?
That is on my birth certificate, so yes, maybe.
All right. Might be around. Ian, break this up. What do you got for bet on fade teams or pitchers?
I'd take Donnie in a heartbeat over Donald. That's not even an issue.
That's what my wife says.
Donnie is, yes, exactly. It sounds so much better. But yeah, maybe Tommy Malone's realizing I got to stop pitching like I'm in the little leagues and change my name from Tommy to Tom. Like I sound like I'm a big leaguer. So maybe that's the issue with that. But for me, I'll tell you a team that's actually playing scrappy baseball still. It's a team that's not going to make the playoffs, but it's a team that's out of it, that's still fighting, that's still competing. It's the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, you're really getting this team competing, playing well, playing hard, still coming to the ballpark in those spirits of, hey, let's come in here, let's try to win this baseball game. You're getting that from Tampa Bay. Their lineup is still producing. Some of these starters have been a little bit of a surprise for them. Stanek, for instance, going on the mound today, a little bit of a surprise for them, a pleasant surprise. So Tampa Bay, to me, a bet-on team at this point in time. Bet against Washington Nationals, by the way, are another one. I think they're a team that's starting to play much better baseball the last couple of weeks. The lineup's hitting. Bryce Harper's hitting again. And when Bryce Harper goes, the team goes. It's the way it's always been with Washington. Some of their back-end starters are pitching better. Finally, Tanner Roark is at least starting to get some of his issues corrected as well. So Washington's another one. A bet against a team right now is probably a team that absolutely got hammered last night with their pitching staff by the LA Angels, the Detroit Tigers. I mean, this is a thin lineup. It's a pitching staff that, they traded Mike Fiers recently. He's now in Oakland. This is a Detroit Tigers team that's really gone south, and a team that probably going to be able to continue to bet against moving forward. So those are two that stuck out to me. Tampa, Washington, bet on, and Detroit, bet against.
Ian, Washington, you have his bet on. Who would you take to win the NL East right now? Just even odds on all 3 teams.
I don't trust Atlanta. I think Atlanta's the one team I could see falling out of this race. What I'm seeing from Philly, and I've got concerns still about Philly maintaining this first place spot, but wins like last night encouraged me about Philadelphia because that was a tough game, low-scoring game. Runs were hard to come by. Found a way late there to pull it out and get the job done, and we're seeing that lately with the Philadelphia Flyers. Not Flyers.
Nice.
Got hockey.
There you go.
Philadelphia Phillies. They have done a really, really good job winning close games, finding ways. Gabe Kapler's talked ad nauseum this season that this team scraps, they battle, they compete. That's really what you get from the Phillies. So I'm not selling them short. I think it's a Phillies or Nationals division, but the Nationals are coming on strong. And they're definitely not out of it. In fact, someone actually told me yesterday, I bet the Nationals to win the NL East at it was about plus 200, plus 220 yesterday when he bet it. Not a crazy bet. I could see them overcoming this deficit.
So you like the Washington Nationals?
Yeah. I think they'll come back and win the division.
What about you? All 3 teams, even odds. Would you take the Braves, Nationals, or Phillies to win it?
Yeah, it's actually going to come down to the wire. The one thing, I mean, we've been tweeting out and saying all season long is what do the Nationals, I mean, if you're looking just a 1 through 8 lineup, overall healthy pitching staff, it's clearly the Nationals are probably the most talented team, but it says a lot to say about this team has been really talented for 5 or 6 years now and can't get over the hump. And that's hard to, I mean, if you're going to chase one team down, get maybe 5 or 6 games back, that's hard enough. But when you're chasing 2, it's hard to overcome. I do think the Phillies and the Atlanta Braves, because they're both young teams, they're going to have their stumbles, which probably will allow Washington to get back into the race, but the Phillies' schedule sets up for them very well. And one of the most underrated, signals in Major League Baseball that you don't think about is how dominant the Philadelphia Phillies starting pitching is. Because outside, you look at Jake Arrieta rounding into form, Aaron Nola, one of the best pitchers in baseball, but the younger kids are strikeout machines. In the season for Major League Baseball right now, the Phillies are number 2 overall in xFIP. That means they are dominating out there time and time again. Is the back end of the bullpen a little bit leaky at times? Sure, but that's Major League Baseball. A lot of teams have that. But if you're looking at just starting pitching, Phillies have the best staff in the NL East, and it's not even close at this point, it seems like.
All right, liking the Phillies. And Big Man, what about you? Anything on those 3 teams? Which team you would take to win it, even odds?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Nationals just seem like that team that, for all the bad season they've had, they still have plenty of games left against the Braves and the Phillies. And, shame on Donnie Wrightside for discussing that 6 games is too many. While it is, let's remember the same team in 2008 that was down 7 games with 17 games remaining and were able to win that division. I think he remembers who that was.
I do remember, but they didn't have to jump 2 teams, though. It's hard to jump 2.
It's not likely, like I said, but again, plenty of games left. I believe they have 10 or 11 games between those 2 teams, the Braves and the Phillies coming up. Again, we've all been waiting for the Phillies to fall off, and they haven't. Maybe we should just shut up, and enjoy the ride and see what they're doing. I think it's quite amazing what they've done. I think their lineup is just average. I don't even think at best it's just average. The rotation is pretty solid. Their bullpen has been pieced together and looked good. And like Ian said, that's a win last night that the Phillies over the last few years would probably lose. They're putting away bad losses and figuring out how to win games and not delving into it too much and thinking about it. You're just going out and getting a win. I mean, things are happening for the Phillies. You got to be impressed with what Kapler's done. But these just seem like 2 teams that are gonna lose the plot, and the Nationals will catch up somehow. It's going to be interesting. Good race.
All right, good stuff there, guys. We got what the game for today is Atlanta versus Washington. I'm bringing up the odds now. We got Fulte versus Malone, Tommy or Tom Malone, either way. -115 for the Nationals at home. Total of 9. Guys, real quick, dude. One, it's on ESPN tonight, so going to be a lot of tickets probably written on this. We just talked about the NL East here. Donnie, do you have any opinion on these 2 teams? It's not the Phillies, but Atlanta versus Washington. Any bet tonight?
Yeah, when you're just looking at the game itself, you say, all right, Atlanta's going to take on Washington. Both teams have a live lineup in there. It's probably going to come down to bullpens. If you just look on paper, it's not even on paper, look at the names there. You always would want to back Fultonavich as opposed to Malone, because when you're just looking at MO coming into the game, when you say, you know what, who actually can give me 7 innings, 10 Ks in this game and put one team under its belt? It's Fultonavich. But we've seen it in the past, right, with Fulte out there on the mound. He can run through innings, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, but then all of a sudden doesn't get a strike call go his way, maybe a bloop falls in an error, and he sort of seems to lose focus out there. The one reason I don't bet a lot of baseball in April is because I need to see a track record. If we're just going to bank on Malone and say, hey, he's got 2 starts here and he looks really good, it's not the best way to get through it, because you are going to face a really good hitting baseball team. But if you're just reading lines out there and you say, you know what, Fultonavich, Malone, -113, it opens up at -115. It's staying right around in that range when clearly Atlanta looks like it's going to be a public side in this one. Is it a decided advantage for either team? But I think Jeff brings it up, is you're waiting on Malone saying, you know what? Is he going to go 3, 4, 5, 6 starts where he looks like a Cy Young Award winner out there? I don't think so. That trip up's going to come pretty soon. Obviously, if you live in the Northeast, it's a hot time here. Same way it would be Atlanta. So you're going to move that heat up into the ballpark in Washington. It's a tough one here. If you're asking me just off the bat, say if I had to make a play on this, I probably would lean towards Atlanta and Fultonavich just because they're getting plus money, if that makes sense.
Okay, we got Dom in the chat box saying I took Nats to win the division plus 200 10 days ago, talking about the conversation we just had. So I'm guessing he might be on the Nats tonight as well. Ian, do you have anything on the Braves Nats tonight?
Yeah, and you're going to have to be careful with the bullpen scenario with this game tonight because you had a doubleheader yesterday. So it's a situation where, you want to be aware of just exactly the status of these bullpens. I mean, you look at the 2 games yesterday that were played, especially from the Atlanta side. They only got 2 innings out of Fried. They only got 6 innings out of Newcomb. So you're looking at a situation for them where their bullpen could be a little bit depleted here today. I'm kind of agreeing with Donnie here in that I got to see more than 2 really good outings out of Tommy Malone. I think the baffling thing about Tom Malone here is no walks and 15 strikeouts in those 2 starts. Where did all these swings and misses come from here all of a sudden for Tommy Malone? He could barely get the ball past any bats last season and previous seasons. Now all of a sudden he's missing bats left and right. So, but then again, we're talking about a 2-start sample size here. So I think we got to calm down. We got to see if he can keep it up in this game. I know I like Fultonevich. I like his road numbers this season. 2.93 ERA on the road. That's very good. That's bet on, in my opinion, for a guy when he's pitching on the road to have a sub-3 ERA. You know, you've got a 2-team split the day-night doubleheader yesterday, so this is a big, big game here. I'd lean a little bit to Atlanta, but I'm actually going to respect somewhat what Malone's done. Rather than bet against him and just expect him to fall on his face again, I'm going to wait to see it happen first. So I'll lean Atlanta, but not going to get involved.
Yeah. Ian leaning Atlanta. And Big Man, what about you? Anything on your boy Tom Malone?
Yeah, I'll lean on him falling on his face. I mean, Atlanta's a pretty good offense. They're pretty good against lefties. Fultonevich has been very good on the road all season. I mean, this guy's been terrific. 11 games on the road, an ERA under 3. His whip is very good. He's been striking people out. 66 strikeouts over 61 and 2/3 innings. Listen, I'm going to get a plus money team with a better pitcher. It's very simple for me. I'll take a shot against Tom Malone at this price. It's just what I'm looking to do. I think long term it'll be successful. When was the last time Tommy Malone was a favorite? What's that all about? It might have been even recently. Who knows? But he shouldn't be a favorite. Sorry.
All right, not liking Tommy Malone tonight. I think I'm with you, Big Man. It's a tough one to lay price with Mr. Malone. Anyway, guys, if you're liking the content, please give us a thumbs up, the like button, and remember, IFBC just a few weeks away from the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas. We got football coming up, NFC East and Big Ten previews, college and NFL. First, let's go 60 seconds north of the border. Ian, Cameron, what's going on in CFL? Big week last week. What are you seeing this week?
Yeah, it was. Quickly on Malone. He was favored in his first 2 starts, believe it or not, against Miami and the Mets, but this is not Miami and the Mets. I mean, those are 2 dreadful ball clubs. And but that's funny to see that he's actually been favored in 3 straight starts, Tommy Malone. So there you go. But I guess that's what happens when you pitch for the Washington Nationals and you're going up against the likes of the Marlins and the Mets. So take that for what it is. CFL-wise, Drew, yeah, it was a fantastic betting result for me last week. 5-0 sweep. We gave out a Twitter play as well for people on in the Twitterverse. It was a great CFL week results-wise. Not great results for Johnny Manziel, unfortunately, in his first start with the Montreal Alouettes. A collective failure, though, Drew. It's unfair to hold that at Johnny Manziel's feet. That performance, a 50-11 loss to my Hamilton Tiger Cats. It was just a dreadful showing all around. It was a collective failure. Offense, defense, special teams, block, punt, return, touchdown they gave up as well. The coaching staff, I think, rushed him in there. I think you're starting to see now it was a poor move putting him in as a starter that quickly. 4 practices with his new team after he got traded to the Alouettes. He wasn't ready. They set him up to fail. Hopefully now, though, with a start under his belt, another week of practice, he can at least improve on that. Can't get any worse. Has nowhere to go but up for Manziel after that game as he takes on Ottawa this week. We got Edmonton, BC this week. Hamilton, my Ticats taking on Winnipeg. Blue Bombers are surging, playing great football right now. Good test for my team. They snapped their losing streak, I should say, last week against Montreal, but that's a pathetic team. I'm not sold on that being a good enough bounce back. They got to go into Winnipeg and win to really prove they've righted the ship. So a good test for the Ticats this week. Only 3 games, by the way, in the CFL this week. We've got 3 teams on bye, so 6 teams in action and only 3 games. Weird week schedule-wise.
Donnie, quick question for you. If Tom Brady would practice for 1 week and then play in the game, kind of like the same situation Johnny Manziel did in that, you think he would have any success or no?
Yeah, it's hard when you translate, though, because you're coming from American football to Canadian football. So I don't know if you would know the timing and the dynamics of a guy getting like a 40-yard meter head start before he snaps. I don't know if it would make that. I mean, we all think Tom Brady would be fine, but it's a completely different game than American football. It'd be fun to watch, though.
Yeah, Jeff, do you have any opinion on that with it being fair to Johnny throwing him in there after a week of practice?
No, I don't think it's particularly fair. But listen, the charade of Manziel has to end. The guy's not a good quarterback. Let's just move on. I mean, listen, no offense as well to Terrell Owens, but why does anybody care that he's in the CFL? Seriously. I mean, when's this guy going to give it up? I mean, I love Terrell Owens, but what are we doing this for exactly? You're not going to get any press. Nobody cares. You're old. We get it. You can go play in the CFL. Why is Terrell Owens doing this? Can someone explain that to me? What's the thought process behind it? Is it just to say, oh, I can still do it? Is that why you're doing it?
He
What's the
says
point
he's
of
got
it?
the thirst and the passion and the love to still want to play football, and he still wants to play the game, and he misses it apparently. So that what's funny about that is here's the Saskatchewan coach Chris Jones working out Terrell Owens last week because he's on bye. Saskatchewan's on bye. He's in Tennessee. Where was Terrell Owens last weekend instead of the Hall of Fame induction? He was at University of Tennessee Chattanooga
So
in
that's why he did it.
ceremony there. So it fit perfectly, both schedules in Tennessee where Chris Jones' home is, Saskatchewan head coach, and he worked him out. And now everyone's all giddy that this means, Saskatchewan's going to sign him. He's got a long way to go to see a CFL field. He's got to get signed to the practice squad first. And then when he gets onto the practice squad, he's got to prove he can assimilate himself with his teammates, make the catches, be able to beat DBs down the field. He's got to show all that on the practice squad before he even moves up to the main
He
squad. There's
doesn't
like a
show
5-step
anyone
process he's got to make
He's
it first.
Terrell Owens. He doesn't show anyone anything. He just should get in there right away. Come on, Ian, you know better. He doesn't show people anything. His reputation should perceive him.
All right, guys, we got Big Ten and NFC East. We got to get into this. Big man, we can come right back at you, man. Big Ten, Wisconsin, Northwestern on the bottom, both 10-win teams. On the east side, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State all had 10-win seasons. You liking any of those teams to kind of repeat here at the top of the Big Ten, or a sleeper team, maybe give them a run?
Well, I don't really consider this group a sleeper team, but we're going to keep talking about them because I think they're the best team in this unit, Michigan. Listen, the time is now for the Wolverines. I mean, Jim Harbaugh needs to, put up or shut up. It's now time where he is approaching the hot seat. He's been there 3 years now, going into, I believe, his fourth, where he hasn't won anything. Haven't beaten Ohio State, haven't won anything. This is your best team coming in. It's the best quarterback they may ever have at Michigan. Shea Patterson is an elite talent that, in the right situation, could be a Heisman Trophy winner. That's how good Shea Patterson is, and you don't have that bogged down Jake Rudock, Devin Gardner, John O'Korn crap at quarterback. You finally have someone that can run a capable quarterback position. You have plenty of weapons. You have a deep wide receiving core. You have a very talented running group. You have a pretty good offensive line with some depth. Defensively, this could be a top 3 defense in the country. They have all Americans everywhere. It's the secondary, as always, is very good. You look at the secondary, the guys like Lavert Hill. I mean, come in. He's a guy that could be a big time player in the country. I just think right now it's Michigan's time. I mean, they don't have to play Ohio State to the end of the year. That's going to be the game, I think, probably that decides things. And who knows what Ohio State's future is going to be with Urban Meyer and that kind of thing. He'll still be very relevant. I think we all know that, regardless if he leaves or not. I just think with Michigan, I see a very good football team here. I see a team that really has a pivotal season that they have to play well, and I don't think they can avoid. I don't think Harbaugh can avoid another year where they fail.
In Big Man, week 1, are you laying the points in South Bend?
Yeah, I think Notre Dame has some question marks. They lost a lot of talent last year. Can Brandon Wimbush take the next step to be a big time quarterback? I think it'll be a good game. I think it's great that this series is back. It's always a pretty good one historically. I think Michigan will get off the schneid and get going in week 1. I just think they're a better team than Notre Dame. Notre Dame, like I said, has some, how they're going to fill in, losing guys like Josh Adams and St. Brown at receiver. That offensive line got gutted last year. You don't lose guys like Nelson and McGlinchey and just bounce right back. That's big losses to that front line. I would be laying it in week 1. I think the only concern with Michigan may be slightly on the defensive line, but I think they have depth where they could punch in and put people in. Quickly, guys, I know I will get everyone else here. Just keeping in mind Maryland, I think Maryland's an interesting group this year. They have a new practice facility, new unit down there. They have a top 30 recruiting class. They have a good team coming in. Listen, they're not going to challenge to win anything, but I think they're going to be a real thorn in team sides, Maryland. They're not that typical, team that had 3 or 4 different quarterbacks. And I remember guys like Caleb Rowe a couple years ago, dreadful quarterback position. It seems like they may have figured it out with Taysom Hill, the young kid there. They get Texas week 1, which would be a revenge game for the Longhorns. But don't be surprised if Maryland's a little bit of a thorn in the side. If I could get time to talk about Iowa later, that'd be great. But yeah, Maryland, look out.
Okay, we got Guan White in the chat box saying Iowa's schedule looks soft, so might be a reason to bet on the over season. Yeah, for sure. And you bring up Maryland. I'm with you, big man. I was looking to bet on them as well. I mean, with all the quarterback injuries, you bring up Hill and Pygmy. They do lose their OC, however, and their schedule is pretty tough. But yeah, we'll swing it right back at you for Iowa and any closing comments on Maryland. Donnie, let's get you in here. What's on your thoughts, betting-wise, Big Ten?
Yeah, I mean, just looking over the Big Ten, it's not a conference I bet all that often, but the usual suspects are up there. The one interesting situation to keep in mind is Jeff is right with Ohio State, because this could be a motivational tool as devious as it is for Urban Meyer and Ohio State. Let's just say it comes, he sits out 2-3 weeks, and then the rallying cry over there is let's do it for coach and circle the wagons, even though you're not circling the wagons because your coach has cancer, beat cancer, or his family's going through a trying time. You're circling the wagons to cover up for a wife beater. So let's see how devious Urban Meyer can get with that and use that to his advantage if he is allowed back to coach. But the one team I always keep my eye on in the Big Ten, I love the way they play football, and I think they have overall maybe the best player who is a South Jersey boy for the Wisconsin Badgers, and that's none other than Jonathan Taylor with that big hog molly offensive line. If they keep this kid healthy and give him the ball 20-plus carries a game, they are going to be a tough bout. But as I said, I'm a schedule guy. You got to go to Michigan and to Penn State on that schedule also. I mean, Iowa's not the easiest place to play, which they're going on the road for as well. But one of those teams I love to watch play because that offensive line is going to come correct, and that running back is outstanding, and you bring a veteran quarterback in there as well. I'm going to watch Wisconsin this year in the Big Ten.
All right, like in Wisconsin, and they're kind of on the weaker side there, Donnie. Do you have any opinion on Nebraska with bringing in Scott Frost on that side of the
that's
conference?
a regime. Yeah, exactly. That's a regime change, which is always tough because you're going to get a spark and everybody's going to be happy that the new coach is in town. Rah, boosters fired up. Let's get 95,000 to watch a practice in spring because the crowning king who played for us is coming back home. But you have to remember, they're going for this for the first time in the offseason, for the first time through August, and then into the game situations. Next year would be more of a buy, or even the following year with Scott Frost at Nebraska. I do think he's going to make an impact there. But again, he doesn't have his players in system yet to run that offense. Should be fun to watch, but I'm not expecting a ton out of Nebraska this year.
Okay, and Ian, what about you? What's on your mind, Big Ten betting wise?
Yeah, Nebraska is a good team to talk about because what does everybody remember about Scott Frost being the resurrector, being the savior at UCF? Because he inherited a team that did not win a football game, and I believe George O'Leary's last year, they did not win a football game that final season he was there. Scott Frost comes in, and what an immediate turnaround in that first year. And people now seeing at Nebraska, after he got hired there, that maybe he can have this same magic here in Lincoln. Not going to be as easy to do it at Lincoln, though, in terms of a first-year turnaround right away. UCF playing in a little bit of a lighter conference, the AAC. It's not top to bottom it's not as difficult to just turn around a program in 1 year at a place like UCF in a conference like that. It's a lot more difficult to do it at Nebraska, in Lincoln, in a very tough Big Ten conference where really Nebraska football has had their ass kicked year in and year out in the recruiting wars. That is going to be the thing that Scott Frost is really going to have to overcome here. So, and I think based on the way Nebraska is being priced season win totals wise, point spread wise, early on here, they're being priced like that team that's going to make that huge jump. Like they assume that they're going to make that big jump. I'm not saying they won't, and he is clearly the right hire. They are going to get better, the Nebraska program. But I think they're already being priced like that team that's going to make that massive jump. And that's the concern. I'm not sure the value is going to be there. With Nebraska week in and week out to back them. The team I'm high on, I'll just give one bet on, one bet against. Purdue. I like them a lot. Look at the turnaround in 1 year with Jeff Brom, the head coach, and his psycho defensive coordinator that he brought with him from Western Kentucky. Look at the points per game and the yards per game allowed that Purdue shredded off of the team that 2 years ago under Darrell Hazel in his final season, they wouldn't have been able to stop me. on the football field, that defense. That's how bad it was. The Jeff Brom came in there. That defense made incredible improvements. And believe it or not, it was the offense that was behind the defense last year. Now, my one concern is the defense loses a ton of leadership, ton of upperclassmen, a lot of key players from that group. But I think this is a group that can patch this defense together because they showed they could do it last year, improve this defense. I think they might struggle early, but I think they're going to get better as the season progresses. And I think this offense is going to be a lot better. Jeff Brom's already talking about he's going to really open up the playbook for his two quarterbacks, Blau and Sindelar. They've got weapons. They've got a very good offensive line this year. They're going to be able to put up points because Jeff Brom is a great offensive mind here at the college level. This is a good Purdue team. I look at them as bet on all the way. Probably an over team early too until they get that defense shored up. But I think that offense is going to be capable of moving the ball, outscoring teams till they get the defense righted. My bet against team, and I have to do this, it's the obvious one, but you see so many teams getting better in the Big Ten. You got your top teams, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, that are always in the mix. You got your middle teams like Purdue is improving. Nebraska's probably going to get better. Northwestern, is a good team, a solid team. Minnesota under PJ Fleck has the chance to get better. But what does that leave a program like Illinois? Here are the Illinois Fighting Illini coming back again with Lovie Smith, with a dearth of talent, with no quality recruits, with no quality depth. It leaves them going nowhere, at a dead end going nowhere. This is a bad program. I can't believe actually Lovie Smith's actually been brought back, to be honest with you. Illinois is going to have a rough, painful, long season once again in this conference.
All right. And Big Man, you wanted to follow up on the Iowa Hawkeyes, I believe?
Yeah. I just think we have to make sure this team a couple years ago had the same schedule. They were flirting with a number one ranking at one point. I remember the schedule this year is a bit of a joke as well. I mean, you got one tough game. You got to get to play Wisconsin at home. But other than that, where is the tough game on the schedule? I get Penn State maybe as well, but the rest of the schedule is very easy. They're just a team you're going to want to take advantage of, I think. They're not going to have any tough games. They could be one of those fraud Big Ten West teams that makes their way to the Big Ten title game and gets waxed just because they had a great season. Just kind of something I keep my eye on. But Nebraska is interesting because they're going to put in Tristan Gabia, who's a redshirt freshman. They're going to run that up-tempo attack that Frost runs. There's not a lot of talent right now on this roster. I mean, they have to find where the talent is. I don't know if that's going to be achievable in year one, but I think Ian makes a very good point. The right hire was key there. Some of these hires in college football are just dreadful, and they're never going to go anywhere. Ed Orgeron being one of them. Ed Orgeron's never going to make LSU into a prominent football team. He's just not. He's a good recruiter. That's about it. Game day, he's not going to make them win. I don't think he does anything for them. Scott Frost, he's going to make you better. It's the right hire 2-3 years down the road. And this is the pinnacle for him. I mean, how much higher can you go if you're Scott Frost? This is where you went to college. Some of these guys, Drew, you and I talked about it with Cristobal as well at Oregon. You got to ask yourself, is this the end of the line? Where do these teams go? Where do these guys go? This is the end. Maybe Scott Frost will look at this as a long-term program and won't be looking to just leave and jump ship. Great hire by them. I think it'll work out. It's just not going to be right away. They don't have a lot of talent there.
Big Man, you mind if I put you on the spot before we get to the NFC East and we can
Drew, I don't ever mind you putting me on the spot. You can ask me about whatever you want, personally or professionally. Doesn't matter to me. Go ahead.
All right, man. Can we get a 20-second impression, Coach O, of your thoughts on this upcoming?
We go. Oh, chicken and the gumbo. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, well, Drew, coming into the year, we are excited about our football team, but you know what? We're first. Team dinner was including. We got. You know what, Drew? The school actually went ahead. They went and got plenty of chicken on a stick for everybody. We had it before the team meeting, first team meeting. We had plenty of chicken on a stick. It was fantastic. I don't know how good we'll be on the field this year, but we got chicken on a stick, and I can't wait. The school is finally kicking in. We had plenty of gumbo. We had chicken on a stick. We're excited. I don't know how good the football team gonna do here, but we're excited. Go Tigers!
All right, go Tigers! Thank you, Coach O. Great way to end college football talk. Let's go NFC East.
I just want to bring up one quick.
Sorry, Ian. We got Dallas Cowboys starting
Okay.
alphabetical
Sorry,
order.
Chris Carter. No Penn
It's a
State
good
talk
transition. Yeah.
for you.
Dallas Cowboys. Let's go ABC order. Donnie, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, Dallas Cowboys. Look, I know a lot of people are down on the Dallas Cowboys this year. I think they're going to be a really good football team. I'm not so sure about that. But the one thing I do like is when let's take a look at the human body. When you cut the cancer out of the human body, it allows itself to grow again, allows itself to get healthy again. When you cut Des Bryant off your football team, that's going to help your football team long term. I mean, it's not the Des Bryant of 5 years ago where he was dominant. This guy was just a pure cancer in the locker room. You take that away. But again, Jeff and I talked about the Dallas Cowboys a few days ago on the right side of campus. The one thing you always have to worry about with the Dallas Cowboys is Rockhead, your football coach out there, and can he get the job done when it's 3rd and 1? I don't care what sabermetrics in the NFL and futuristic playbooks look like where it's better to pass. Hand the football off. Lean on your offensive line, lean on your athletic mobile quarterback, and lean on your dominant all-pro running back to get those yards. I bet on the Dallas Cowboys quite a bit over the past few years, both for them and against them. And the thing that always gets in my crawl is they never lean on the running game like they should with Zeke. Now you don't have that big drama queen out at wide receiver. It's not going to be a big deal when you spread the football around because somebody is not getting his out here and throwing up the X all game, and I'm not getting my shine on Monday Night Football. It won't matter anymore. At least setting back into a team environment is going to help them. It's going to be a tough division, but I'm not as low on the Dallas Cowboys as I know a lot of people are.
Okay, a little higher than the marketplace on the Dallas Cowboys. Ian, whatever quickly you had on college football, I just didn't. The transition was too good to stop, and go ahead with the Dallas Cowboys break.
Yeah, I mean, NFC East is pretty simple, pretty cut and dried for me. Dallas is a neutral team. I want to wait and see how things go with them early on. Washington too, although Alex Smith there now, the new quarterback. We'll have to remains to be seen if that's going to be a good fit. I know Kirk Cousins had his issues winning big games, winning in the playoffs, but you got to get to the playoffs first if you're the Washington Redskins, and they've still got to improve that defense a little bit too. We'll see if they can do that. Philadelphia's division to lose at this point. We all know that. Looking to defend as Super Bowl champions. A loaded roster, a head coach that proved in a big game last year in the Super Bowl, matched wits with Bill Belichick and outwitted him as far as I'm concerned. Doug Peterson did a great job in that Super Bowl. Team to beat, obviously. But my sleeper team in this division is the New York Football Giants because I like teams coming in off a season where they got no coaching, none, zero. And the New York Giants got zero coaching, zero quality coaching in the Ben McAdoo era. Okay, so now you're going to bring in a guy that absolutely knows what he's doing. He's going to be respected in that locker room. You bring in Saquon Barkley to give this team a running game that they badly, desperately are crying out for because Eli Manning is not a guy that you can rely on solely in the passing game at this stage of his career. I think the defense certainly is going to make some improvements, get better this season as well. So for me, it's the New York Giants. And quickly, the point that I was trying to get to about college, Penn State, someone asked in the chat about them. I think they're going to be overvalued, Penn State. I'm looking to bet against them. I think they're going to be overvalued. They lose Barkley, as I just mentioned, with now that he's with the Giants. Joe Moorhead, OC there last year. They lose him. He's at Mississippi State now as the head coach. That's huge. That guy was every bit as instrumental for that offense as Saquon Barkley or anyone else at Penn State. I think Penn State's going to be overvalued, going to take a slight step back.
Okay, and big man, Dallas Cowboys thoughts 9-7 last year. Over under just 6-10, so kind of an under trender. You, which way are you looking to bet the Dallas Cowboys this year?
Well, Drew, I'm going to start out this one in an impression again. Give a listen this year to the tailgate party on Facebook Live with me, Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. We'll take a look at the Cowboys as they head into the season. Dak Prescott back for another year. I agree with Donnie Rightside, the great capper from South Jersey, my old haunt. I love going into the Philadelphia. I love going into the main line and getting myself a nice steak. It's always good to be in Philadelphia with my friend Donnie Rightside. Make sure you check out the tailgate party every Saturday at OffshoreInsiders.com. No, the Cowboys, real quick. Cowboys are, I think they're an average football team. I think the problem with them is Donnie mentioned it. They don't run the football enough. Stick to the running the football. You don't have a lot of weapons at wide receiver. Jason Witten's gone. You need someone else to step up. I don't know if they have the talent on the outside to do that. Is Dak Prescott going to make that next step? Be that big time quarterback for them? Defensively, they're always very average. You have a lot of injury concerns as well, particularly at linebacker. Jalen Smith, Sean Lee, can all those guys stay? I think Leighton Vander Esch is even injured right now. I want to say he is going into the season. So, there's some question marks. I'm not. I think the Giants are a little bit more exciting. Obviously, the Eagles. It's going to be a tough year for them. They're just. Jason Garrett's too big of an idiot to really ever get behind. They need to run the football, and until they start to do that and get back to that, maybe they will. With Dez gone, they don't have to worry about his antics, like Donnie said. I'm just kind of so in the Cowboys. I don't think they're particularly good. I think they're 7-9 team, something like that.
Okay, a team that Ian already hit on, the New York Football Giants, 3-13 last year, also 6-10 towards the under trender here. Donnie, do you agree with Ian? You think they could be on the upswing here?
Giants, I mean, there's really nowhere to go but up at this point. That I actually thought the Giants, because, when you're in the NFL and you're in professional sports, it's about winning titles. And, the faster you can get your next good quarterback, the faster you can be able to compete, win divisions, win in the playoffs, and win Super Bowls. I actually thought the Giants should have went quarterback, but, sometimes it's hard to pass up that shiny new toy that you're going to get with Saquon Barkley at running back. He's going to add a nice dimension, but offense and defensive lines are where everything is built. You lose a little bit with JPP. I wasn't the biggest JPP guy. Trade him down to Tampa Bay, but you still have Olivier Vernon, who's a very good stalwart defensive end to get after the quarterback. Still a very good defensive tackle rotation. Improve the linebacking core, and I do like the secondary. So I think their defense is on the up and up. But the one thing that's really going to hurt them again, and you can't underestimate, I know they got Nate Solder in there. If the Patriots just going to let Nate Solder walk without really caring about it, how much left does he have in the tank? Because the Giants' offensive line is always an issue. You don't have a mobile quarterback. And the worst thing when you don't have a mobile quarterback is, does Eli Manning take a lot of sacks? Not particularly, but he's the type of guy, when a man gets in his face, he turns, cowers, and launches the ball up into triple coverage, hoping his player can make a play. I think Eli Manning, once again, is going to be a detriment to this ball club. They do have a lot of weapons. Their wide receiver core is really good when healthy. Evan Ingram is a special tight end that can stretch the field. Again, you have that nice little Ferrari in the backfield, albeit he is a rookie, but he should be able to perform right away. But it's all going to lean on that offensive line and Eli Manning. Let's not forget, we're not too far away from Eli Manning. I remember betting a game last year. I can't remember exactly the team it was, maybe the Detroit Lions, I believe, where Eli Manning had a 1st and goal at the 10-yard line, which turned into a 3rd and 16. And as opposed to throwing into the end zone, they actually ran a draw play to take the field goal. That's how much they don't trust Eli Manning. But a regime change in New York, I think, is going to be good for this ball club. Still think they're a couple years away, if that makes sense, because Eli Manning doesn't give me too much out there.
So a couple years away, you don't see him making the playoffs with Eli Manning behind center then, Donnie, huh?
I just don't see, is he just going to come and say, I'm a better quarterback than I was, a few years ago? Because he's on a downslide. And the thing in the NFL is you have to protect the football. He doesn't do that. How many times you see Eli? Oh, there's Eli again. You watch it. If you go back and just, at right side VP and put Eli Manning, every single game the Giants play, it's a damn near comedy show out there because he just gives it up at the worst times and makes the worst reads. You can't do that at quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, especially lately with Eli. Big man, what about you? Thoughts on the New York Giants this year?
Yeah, I mean, Donnie and I, if you listen to our show, we have differing opinions on Eli. I mean, obviously he has went down a little. But keep in mind last year, I mean, the guy was throwing to ShopRite cashiers and mechanics down the street. I mean, he had nobody to throw to in that offense, and the offensive line was poor. Make a good point, though, about Solder. That has to work on that left side because you invested a lot of time and obviously that draft pick in Will Hernandez. He would think he'll work, but Solder is getting a bit older, and that right side of that offensive line is a concern. I mean, Eric Flowers last year was an absolute mess at times. John Jerry's already been replaced on the depth chart. They have a new center as well. There's a lot of concern on that offensive line. I think that's the one knock, and that really makes them go because if Eli Manning's turning the ball over, they can't run the football. I mean, how effective is Saquon Barkley if that offensive line's poor? It's really just going to make that car go. You're not going to get a Ferrari and not put insurance on it. If you give Saquon Barkley a bad offensive line, you might as well crash that Ferrari and junk it. Defensively, look, they're okay. I think secondary's pretty good. But I think the Giants, as you I think we all want to anoint them, and even myself, I want to anoint them as obviously they're going to be much better, but the offensive line is a concern. That right side is a real problem to me. They're going to have to hopefully play really good football. If they could play good football, I think they'll be fine. But it's a big. You're putting a lot of pressure on Eric Flowers, who has been pretty poor in the NFL.
Okay, good stuff, big man. And Ian, we got to go quick, but any closing thoughts on the New York Giants running up against the time-wise?
Yeah. For me, I'm banking on Pat Shurmur coming in here and giving Eli Manning the intellect and the preparation he needs to perform better, because I don't think he received any of that from Ben McAdoo when he was head coach of the New York Giants. And obviously, Pat Shurmur is a guy Donnie and Big Man will know well. He had 2 stints as a coach with the Eagles, QB coach for most of the Donovan McNabb era. Long time ago. Then he was there briefly as a OC for a few years, just earlier in this decade. So Pat Shurmur obviously is a guy that you want his offensive mind in there to help Eli Manning, to help this offense overcome the ridiculous situations that Donnie mentioned time and time again they were in last year, 3rd and long. Maybe Pat Shurmur's the guy that can do that. That's what I'm banking on. That's what I'm hoping for.
All right, guys, we got Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Redskins coming up. Going to throw a curveball out there. Let's just go real quick around best bets for today or for this week for the roundtable, because I want to end it with Philadelphia Eagles talk, and we're probably going to run up against it time-wise. I'll throw mine out there first. Going with the under in the New York Yankees-Chicago White Sox game. That's 9-7-4. We got Mike Estabrook behind home plate, 5-15 towards the under. So I'm on 9-7-4, under 8.5, -110. Babano, Ian Cameron, follow him on Twitter at Babanos, work at sportsmemo.com. Ian, what do you have for best bets?
Yeah, I mean, best bet, you got baseball on the go for the most part today. So, let's go to Major League Baseball here, and let's take a look at the Seattle Mariners on the run line is what we're going to go with today with Gonzalez. I think it's a bounce back start for him. Going to lay a 1.5. Don't do that very often, but Gallardo, to me, not a guy I'm willing to trust here right now for the Texas Rangers. Gonzalez got roughed up a little bit last start against the Blue Jays, but I think it's a good bounce back situation for him. Let's lay a 1.5 with the Seattle Mariners. Let me just bring up what that price is right now. It's a good plus price though, but yeah.
Okay. And Donnie, what about you for best bets? Follow him on Twitter at RightSideVPs. Work at
plus 100.
Donnie.
Plus 100.
Okay, plus 100 for that. What do you got for best bet, Donnie?
Yeah, keep it quick. You're going to have to wait a while today to get this best bet because it's going to take place at 10:05 Eastern time, 9:77, 9:78. We're going to go first 5 innings in this, and I'm going to take Clayton Kershaw, even though it is a pretty square play, on the run line, -0.5, and that was at 5 times at -115. The reason I like this play is a couple different moving parts. Clayton Kershaw rounding into form here. Team launch angle will be in effect in this game. Mike Fiers also, let's not forget, not Mike Fiers of the Detroit Tigers. Tonight's going to be Mike Fiers of the Oakland Athletics, jumping on a plane, changing teams, changing situations in a different environment. Maybe he feels a little bit of the heat out there, but let's go to the paper there and say Mike Fiers over the last 30 days, Sierra, 4.86. Over the last 14 days, which is about 2 starts, a 5.30 Sierra. I think Kershaw comes out, ties up those backs for Oakland, and I think LA Dodgers take that first 5 innings wager. So we're going to go run line, -0.5 of a run, -115 on the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight.
I like that one. I like your angle, fading the new pitcher coming in. Big man on campus, follow Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, what do you got for best bets?
You know what? Donnie Wright said discuss you're going to have to wait long for his win total or for his play. You're going to have to wait real long for mine. And I want you to write this down, Drew, because, listen, I want to give this play out. I'm not betting a ton of baseball right now, and the soccer card is low level today. I'm going to go to a win total, guys, in college football, okay? I want you to get on all of you. And, Drew, I want you to tell me what you have on this total. Maybe you could find it for me because I'm having a little trouble locating it. I'm going to go under Army, 7.5 I see. Is that what you see?
It's going to take me a second to find it, so go ahead and say analysis.
Whatever it is, I'm going under the number. Okay, Ahmad Bradshaw, their quarterback, he was deemed that he will be graduating. He will not be back at quarterback. I've been reading some comments out of West Point. They are not sounding very good. Monken has been very negative on this program. There's not a lot of talent. They discussed that that they really have to just try to find talent at this point on this football team. I don't know if they're going to go winless or one win, but I think they're going to be a bad football team. I think the knock on Army is when you don't have a quarterback that can run that offense the way you want it, it just doesn't work. It's bogged down. It's slow. I think without Bradshaw, they're going to struggle at quarterback. And the quotes out of West Point have not been good from some of the publications up there. I'm looking under Army. I don't think they win a lot of games this year.
All right, South Point has them 7.5 even money towards the under, so we can give you that.
Yeah,
if that's better than
that's way too high. That's way too high, bro. Get on under 7.5.
I like that, big man. All right, so the quarterback for sure is graduating and not playing his last year.
Oh yeah, he's graduating. He won't be playing. I think he graduates this week actually, and that's been confirmed by Monken himself. So yes, he won't.
And he has another year of eligibility, and he's just choosing not to play.
I believe so. Yeah, that's all that's what I've seen.
Interesting. Okay. Well, good stuff there, guys, with best bets. Tough week last week, but we'll get into Philadelphia Eagles. Just I guess we can do a little bit on it next week as well. We'll do Philadelphia Eagles talk to end the show. We only got 5 minutes left. So Donnie, you want to start us off? All your thoughts
on
we
going here?
Go for it.
Go Eagles or Skins? We going for?
Dude, let's just go Eagles, and we can come back at them next week with Skins and a little Eagles talk as well.
We need more time on this show. There's not enough time.
Plenty of time, Jeff. Less is more. Less is more.
No, there is.
We can talk a little about Philadelphia Eagles heading into the season. I mean, you're coming with a lot of expectations. You have the target on your back at this point, but I actually think the Eagles are a slightly better football team than they were even entering in last year. If you remember during camp, I'm out there watching camp or watching preseason football saying, God awful, this is the worst set of cornerbacks in the entire NFL, which at the end of the year ended up being a strength for the Philadelphia Eagles. So it goes a long way to see how your team can develop with a good coaching staff. Solid the linebacker core now, getting Hicks back off of injury. Very, very good secondary. An elite pass rush coming into the season. The best overall offensive line in football. Unbelievable tight end situation. Locked in at wide receiver with Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey, and also the addition of Mike Wallace, who's an upgrade from Torrey Smith. Very good at the running back position. Going to get Sproles back as a third down back, looking quick as ever. If you can't start the season with your young future quarterback MVP that will be in the future, hell, it's not too bad to go with Nick Foles, the Super Bowl MVP. Sky's the limit for the Eagles, but we all know it's the NFL. They're going to play a first-place schedule. It's going to be tougher out there, no doubt about it. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be every bit in it. I know they're going to get a push from the LA Rams out there and the Minnesota Vikings, but coming into the season, there's not a lot to be down for with the Philadelphia Eagles unless they suffer a rash of injuries in the preseason. So I'm pretty high on the Eagles this year.
All right, liking the Eagles and big man. What about you?
Yeah, it's hard to find a weakness with this team. I think going into the season, they're the best roster in football as far as up and down the depth chart. I mean, you got to remember last year, guys, this team won the Super Bowl. No Jason Peters. Okay, you got him back. So Vitae's had valuable experience. You look at the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you won the Super Bowl with a third-string linebacker at linebacker. Hicks is back. Joe Walker had valuable experience. A lot of these guys, I mean, we didn't see last year. You have some good depth at corner all of a sudden. The safeties are very good. I just look up and down this roster, and I don't see I don't see any weakness really. There's not much in that scheme there. I mean, the running backs are deep. Again, the only weakness would be is, does Carson Wentz come back fully healthy? But he looks like he's on schedule. I don't have a lot to say negatively about the Eagles. I think they got a bit stronger even at receiver. Slotting out Torrey Smith and bringing in Mike Wallace. Brought in Kamar Aiken, a couple guys like that. Marcus Wheaton. A lot of that depth there. I think I have a hard time believing they don't contend to get back to the Super Bowl. I think they have a very good football team. I think it's even better than they were last year at the end of the season.
All right, and we'll leave it with Ian. 30 seconds on the Eagles. Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I mean, loaded. That's the word that comes to mind. I mean, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, very good secondary. If the starting quarterback goes down, who cares? You got a more than capable replacement to put in there and keep the train rolling. Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles team to beat, and I don't see anyone beating them in this division.
All right, thanks for being quick. And yeah, Johan, the producer, was on us at the time. We're up against it. Over 150 people watching right now. We really appreciate it, guys. Please give us a thumbs up, the like button. And also, Big Man touched on it. Maybe this show should get some more time. We're always running out of time, and people seem to be liking it in the chat box. So thanks for that, guys. Maybe hit up SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. Let them know. I don't think there's another show after this until 11:30. Do you know, Big Man?
I don't believe there is either, Drew. But I just come on here and come on when I'm asked.
All right. Well, we'll get another Coach Joe impression before football season starts. That's all right. But for Donnie Rightside, Jeff Nadeau, Ian Cameron, I'm Drew Martin. We'll be back next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.